All young people think that there's a shortcut to success. Okay.
Yeah,
And the
it's right.
shortcut to success is being in the boss's good books, being a sycophant. The first thing I would say, Sreekant, is everybody has self-doubt. Don't let anybody fool you. Okay. The greatest of athletes, the greatest of politicians, the greatest of orators, the greatest of CEOs and managers, everybody has a self-doubt. The mistake a lot of people do is they first look at the benefit of what will accrue to them. And because of the benefit of what will accrue to them, they tend to do the wrong things. If you are in a company, okay, it's very difficult for you to pick the mentor. The mentor has to pick you. And the mentor picks you based on the values you display, the work you do, the impact you have.
Hi, everyone. Shiv Shivakumar is not only one of India's top corporate bosses, he's also among the most articulate and insightful ones. He's a prolific author, too. His recently released book, The CEO Mindset, is an especially useful read for young executives who want to reach the top. The book is already a national bestseller. That's why my interview with Shiv will deal with the kind of questions that appear on a young person's journey. For example, how to get noticed by the boss, finding the right mentors, dealing with self doubt, forming good habits, and learning when to say no. So let's get started. Shiv, congratulations on your new book, The
Thank you.
CEO Mindset. I particularly had a question about the choice of the word mindset. It's an unusual thing. Normally it would have been how to become a CEO or steps to take. Why did you choose the word mindset?
Yeah, because getting to the CEO job typically takes 15 to 20 years of very hard work and an excellent mindset. A mindset which has to rise above pettiness, a mindset which has to rise above cynicism, a mindset which has to rise about being, let's take, uh, deeply personally ambitious vis-a-vis collective ambition. So you need a very different mindset to be a CEO. And many people trip on the way because they don't display the elements of this mindset. And that's the reason I chose that.
Very nice. That's a very interesting thing. So, one of the things young people, when they discuss the possibility of climbing up the ladder, they talk about luck and, do you get the opportunity, etc. Will the boss, especially in large companies, and you have been in very large companies, most of your career. So did you do something when you look back? Did you do something differently because of which helped you stand out, basically?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Um, a lot of people think that, especially young people, and this is true of young people in every generation, I'm not just saying
Correct.
this generation,
Yeah.
all young people think that there's a shortcut to success. Okay.
Yeah,
And that
it's
shortcut to success is being in the boss's good books, being a sycophant, okay, or taking shortcuts and showing immediate results, etc. And then forgetting, okay, you do what I do now, and then let the next guy clean up the mess or whatever it is. These are all the wrong shortcuts, okay. The only way you can stand out at any point of time in your career is you have to beat the living daylights out of your job, full stop. You have to be very, very good at your job. Number one. Number two, you should have few rough edges. Everybody has rough edges, but if you're very good at your job and you have too many rough edges, people will not like you. People will not promote you. People will not.
is it okay? I have a question. Is it important to be liked? Is it important to be popular?
No, it is not important to be liked, but it is important not to be hated. They're two different things. Okay, this is not a popularity sweepstake. Suppose I'm reporting to you, Srikant, with Aarti and the others on this call, Shantanu, etc. Okay, you should have a reason to promote me to say he's damn good at his work and he gets along reasonably well with people. He's not, Mr. Popular, but he will get along. On the other hand, if you say he's damn good at his work, but he just cannot get along with his people or his peer group, then it's a disaster. So I think Focus on your work. Your work is the only thing which will take you forward. After your work, it's your behavior. And it's your behavior in stressful times. Many times people throw the toys and the books and the table around when they're under stress. Watch your behavior under stress, especially when you're a junior and middle manager.
Shiv, when you look back, was there a moment or moments perhaps when you did something or some circumstances arose and that you think was the point where your boss or your bosses noticed you?
Yeah, there are many moments in life. See, the trouble with the career, Shrikant, is that it's lived forward but understood backwards. Okay.
Correct.
When you go through the moment, you don't recognize it's one of those turning moments in your life. For example, I'll give you many. In Hindustan Lever, when I was an area sales manager in Chennai branch, they said, we'll remove the layer below you. You have to directly deal with all your salespeople and do it. Everybody else used to have a territory sales manager who would collate the thing, etc. This forced me to go to all 5,500 outlets which were there in Chennai then. It forced me to work with my 45, 50 salespeople directly. It forced me to interact with my 21 distributors. Okay. They tried the experiment with me. It
Hmm.
succeeded. We did very well. But then they said we cannot extend it because this guy worked 24 by 7. Not everybody will do that. So after that, it was not this thing. But it taught me the ability to stretch. And that's what got noticed saying, hey, here's a guy who's stretching and not cribbing. Okay, so that's one. Next, when I was a brand manager, one day our boss Anand Bhatia, he moved out one of the other brand managers and he said, okay, now all these brands are under your control. Now you better start managing it. Now suddenly that was a huge challenge. Then I recognized that I'm a single guy, but I had an agency and I had 6, 7 people in the agency. So I called them in and said, hey, you're a brand manager for each of this. Now you help me. Okay, so these are all moments which I believe test you, and these are examples when I was a young manager. And my submission to all the young people is, if there is an ask from the company, put up your hand and say, I volunteer. That's what I would say.
Yeah, very good. One question I want before the next question, I want to go back to something you said that young people always have and still do think that somehow there is a shortcut and that may be psychophancy or something else. Have you seen the attitude of young people to ambition and success change over the last so many years?
Yes, I would agree. See, 25 years ago, uh, the company was everything for a young manager. Today, the company is not everything for a young manager. There are many other things. Number one. Number two, there are many other companies. Okay. No longer is a roster of 5 FMCG companies the most aspirational or desirable. Okay. They are possibly, after 50 today. Okay. Today, the options before a young manager are multiple. Number one. Number two, with technology, a young manager can cross industries much more seamlessly than ever before. In the past, if you're in FMCG, if you're in
That's
banking,
interesting.
if you're somewhere else, you're locked into that industry. Today, with technology being the background, which is an absolutely given hard skill, you can transit to any industry you want. That's a huge
Okay.
advantage. Third, I would think is the number of options in terms of payment options, EMI, this, that, etc., gives young managers a lifestyle which is very, very good when they start because they're
Okay.
borrowing. That lifestyle was not available in India 30 years ago. 30 years ago, if you lived in Andheri, you took the fast train to Churchgate. Today, with an EMI, you have a car, you might have a driver, you might hire a driver. It's a very different lifestyle. I think things have improved. I think young employees today are far more articulate, far more tech savvy than before. But equally, I must say, Shrikant, they're far more demanding of their bosses than ever before.
I'm sure. So, talking about this, have there been any habits or routines that there must be, of course, that you have inculcated and that you believe were important for your success that you picked up early on?
Yeah, I would think the habits I always wanted to practice and do well at. One was time management. A lot of people don't recognize this. 50% of the impression you create is the way you manage your time. Okay, that's what's absolutely crucial. So I would say that I'm a very big stickler for time. I'm never late for any meeting. I'm always ahead of schedule. I'm well prepared. Number one. Number two, reading. The ability to stay relevant, one of the routes to that is reading. So you have to constantly read to educate yourself. So if you're not educated with the latest trends, you're not going to be relevant. That's the second. The third one I would say is having a teachable point of view. If you want to be a good leader, you need to have the ability to teach people. Okay. So
Teachable point of view. Is that what you said?
absolutely, yeah. You
That's
can
interesting. Okay.
learn, but that's inward. Teaching is outward, and teaching actually spurs people to their potential. And finally, the ability to give and take honest feedback. I ask for a lot of feedback in everything that I work with. Okay. And what feedback does is actually helps you course correct to say, did I come across well, not well, where could I have done better? And people experience you, feel you very, very differently. So it's good to get different points of view. So those are
Okay.
four habits I would say that I've always consistently practiced.
When you're young, there are many opportunities that come your way, and you don't have experience to decide whether this is right for you or not. How do you decide what to say yes to and what to reject and say no? It's damn tough when you're young, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say let's split the thing into two parts, Shrikant. When you say yes or no, when it's about a professional aspect or the company aspect, and second, when it's a personal thing, when it's about you. Okay.
Correct.
The company aspect is fairly clear. I think the principles by which a company judges its proposals and what it wants to do. For example, do you want to say yes to an investment which is X in this location? Yes or no? There's a certain risk
Correct.
attached, there's a certain IRR. The principles are clear. Okay. The choices might be close, but then you decide. Next choice when you are in a company is whom do you promote over somebody else and why? Again, the
Okay.
principles are clear. This person's had this track record, this impact, etc. Okay. Which distributor do you pick over somebody else? You know, which incentive plan, etc. So the principles, roughly, when it comes to companies, thanks to years of legacy, years of knowing what to do and how to do it, there's a secret sauce in every company. That's easy. The more difficult one is when it comes to you. Okay. So, for example, the first thing about yes and no is how do you prioritize your time? Somebody asks you for something. How do you prioritize that? Okay. Now, that's a very difficult one. And then you prioritize it on saying, is this the right thing for the company? Is this the right thing for me to do? Okay. Don't worry about what benefit I'll get. The mistake a lot of people do is they first look at the benefit of what will accrue to them. And because of the benefit of what will accrue to them, they tend to do the wrong things. Okay. If you ask yourself, okay, right through when I was in Unilever or Nokia or PepsiCo, a lot of industry bodies would call me to speak for various events, etc. And I would run it past my comms director, Poonam call, and she would say, hey, Shiv, this is a good event, find the time for it. Okay. So then you need to find
Okay.
the time, you need to prepare for it, etc. But you're doing it for the institution first and less for yourself. But when you do that, you also gain, you need to recognize that. Because you're representing your institution, you have been given a platform because of your institution. People
Correct.
will not call you without your institution. Very few people recognize that. And that's why a lot of senior managers, a lot of CEOs, when they leave their job, nobody goes after them, nobody wants them because they're irrelevant. They were relevant only because of their organization. So, what you say yes
Nice.
or no to depends on the institution you represent, not just yourself. There are few people who have built their own brands, either they're consultants or they're running their own shows or creative people, etc. Okay, so they will get those invitations. Okay,
Okay.
so next, when you want to say yes or no, I think a very important thing is can you help and will you be able to make a difference? Like today in a social media world, I'm sure you're getting thousands of requests to say, hey Shrikant, can you help me with this? Now you need to make up your mind to say, hey, yes or no, do I need to help this person? Do I want to give this person my number so that he or she can reach out to me for 10-15 minutes and give him or her my advice? So a lot of what you'd say yes or no to depends on your value system and what you believe is the right thing.
Shiv, in my next question, I'd appreciate if you could address two issues. One is about self doubt. You are getting a new role or new responsibility, and you're not sure you're up to it. I've seen this many times. How do you deal with it? That's one. The second thing is that in the past, and perhaps even now, I mean, there always is ambiguity in business. Life is rarely a choice between a left and a right, a black and a white, right? You are flying through the mist. You don't have all the facts. You're not sure your basis is correct. What do you do in such a situation? So, one, self doubt, and second, ambiguity.
Great questions, Stuber. Let me answer the self doubt one. The first thing I would say, Shrikant, is everybody has self doubt. Don't let anybody fool you. Okay. The greatest of athletes, the greatest of politicians, the greatest of orators, the greatest of CEOs and managers, everybody has a self doubt. Okay. Now, self doubt comes from two aspects. One is the technical aspect, the technical self doubt. Am I up to the job? Do I know everything about it? Okay, now I've got into it. When you have technical self doubt, you brush up your fundamentals. Okay, you brush up your theory. You look at practice. Okay, and you work on the skills to develop it better. That's the easier part. The more difficult part, and 90% of the time people face, is what I call personality self doubt. It is not technical self doubt.
Right.
The personality self doubt is, do I belong here? Okay. Second, okay, if I don't belong here, then my personality starts getting jealous. Okay. You start becoming jealous of your peer group, of other people in the room who you believe have got there because of the wrong reasons and not the right reasons. Okay. Now you feel inadequate. You say, hey, can I really do this? I cannot tell you the number of people when we call them for speaking engagements at some of the boards I'm in, they say, Shiv, do you really think I can do it? Now that's a
Really?
personality self-doubt. It's amazing. Now in this whole personality self-doubt, there are two elements, Shrikant. One is confidence, one is courage. Okay, you have to back yourself. To back yourself, you need courage. Okay, and you can only develop confidence by being more courageous. The more courageous you are, the more confident you get, not the other way around.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Nice. That's very, very
so
insightful, I think.
you need to take it up to say, okay, I'm going to step up. I remember as
Right.
a young area sales manager, one of the people in Trichy, he used to run a pumps company. I used to be area sales manager in Chennai branch. His name was Gopi. He called me and said, hey, Shiv, can you come and do a speech to all my salespeople? First time I said, wow, these are pump fellows. I am from an FMCG industry. Now, what do I talk about? I had a long chat with him. So, because this is a self doubt about both the technical aspect
I
and
know.
the
Both.
confidence saying, look, I'm too young to do this. But Gopi said, no, no, Shiv, I've read your articles in Business World. You'll be fine. These are the things I want you to cover. Once you go and do that, you say, hey, that's possible. Okay, I had the courage to do it. That gives you the confidence. And
Okay.
on the second part, which is the gray part, all decisions and all information systems, Shrikant, give you what I call black information, white information, and gray, which is no information. And the only way you can resolve this gray part is talking to as many people in the ecosystem as possible. For example, before I joined Nokia, I remember when it was announced, a lot of the Nokia boys and girls said, hey, this guy hasn't sold mobile phones, he sold shampoo, tea, Huggies, etc. What will he teach us? What they didn't know was that I was in the gray zone, absolutely right. But I spoke to something like 200 people, okay, distributors, past employees, etc., to get a knowledge. I had a full notebook of notes on what I thought Nokia was and what I thought Nokia wasn't. So when I walked in, okay, I knew more about the company, I would
You
say
you you had interviewed, say, about 200
200
people before
people in the 3 months
before
before I joined.
before you joined.
Absolutely, in the 3 months before
Wow.
I joined.
Wow.
So the point I'm trying to make is whenever you're in the gray zone, you have to put in that extra effort to
All right.
understand that gray zone. If you
Okay.
don't understand that gray zone, you'll continue to be in your own black or white world. So for
Yeah.
all young people, invest in understanding that.
I know. So as the saying goes, now, you don't know, but do you know that you don't know? So I
Yeah.
think it's a bit like that. Yeah. So, and I think this is an eternal question that if you want to climb up the ladder and head a large company, all right, is it more likely that you'll reach there by being a generalist or by being a specialist?
Okay.
Is
First,
there a pattern that you have seen in this?
yeah. Let's look at the structure of organization. The structure of organizations is you have a few generalists and many specialists. Okay, that's a fact. Now, especially with matrix organizations, especially with technology, there are very, very few general management jobs in every company. When I ran PepsiCo, I had a general management job because of the chairman and CEO. We had Leher, which was our low price value fighter in the market, that had a general manager job. Every other general manager job had disappeared in the company. That's to do with technology. Now you go back. If you look at the early days of technology, every circle ran on its own. It was a general manager job. If you look at the early days of the bottling or the soft drinks industry, every zone ran on its own. It was a general manager job. Okay, if you look at the early days of FMCG, each regional manager virtually ran a pseudo P&L. It was a general manager job. You had legal, you had unions, you had everybody
Correct.
reporting to you. With technology, all the GM jobs have gone. Everything has converged into one GM job, which is the CEO's job. So, my honest submission to everybody, there are no GM jobs available out there. Recognize it. Once you recognize that, then you ask yourself, how do I get multi skilled? How do I get onto projects which can display my general management ability? Okay, how can I add more to it, etc. So, if you're a sales guy, volunteer for a marketing project. If you're a supply chain guy, volunteer for a sales project. If you're a finance guy, volunteer for a supply chain project. You are an HR person, volunteer for a sales project. Okay, so you have to build the skills because the company does not have a GM role to give you. Okay, and if you look at the history of companies in, and I'll take America as an example. In the
Okay.
50s and 60s, a lot of lawyers made it to CEO. After
Really?
that, a lot of CFOs made it to CEO. Now, today, if you look at it, very few CMOs make it to CEO. Less than 5% of the global 500 companies have CMOs as CEOs. It is much more COOs who've made it or divisional heads who've made it. So today, the emphasis is much more on execution and getting delivery right. So they will look for those skills, and that is where you need to be much more of a generalist and less of a specialist.
Okay, because there's a very interesting thing that the world is getting so specialized. You see it in medicine, for example, that each doctor looks at you, you know, you
One angle,
you
yeah.
have a problem with the skin, it's a dermatologist. You have a problem with this, there's ortho, etc., etc. But there are very few doctors, like general medicine, somebody who can see the whole thing and
Absolutely.
make the connection. Similarly, in I think very large companies and especially tech-heavy companies, everybody is into these narrow verticals. So don't you need people who can actually connect what they call the big T's, who can connect with these verticals and collate a
Absolutely.
picture, as it were?
That's a great question, Srikant, again. Now, who or what is a general manager or a CEO? A general manager or a CEO is somebody who makes the trade offs. The trade-off
Correct.
which
Very
come
nice.
from different
Yeah,
functions.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, that in a very large corporation, how much lower will you push it is a question that the company needs to ask. With technology, everything is going to the top, is all I would say.
The idea of mentorship, that's really as old as time itself. I mean, when we talk about the Guru Shishya Parampara, it's basically what it was. There was somebody who guided you through life. But I find of late the idea of mentoring, who's your mentor? I find these questions, they come up far more than I remember. So for a person, young executive, a young manager on the rise, who needs a mentor or would like somebody to guide him or her, how would it happen? Is it a random thing? Is it something a executive or a manager can actually look for? How have you seen it play out?
If you are in a company, okay, it's very difficult for you to pick the mentor. The mentor has to pick you.
Yeah.
And the mentor picks you based on the values you display, the work you do, the impact you have. No senior manager wants to pick a junior manager who's a flaky fellow. Never. They would like their name and their guidance and their hand to be on somebody who's good. It's a
Okay.
natural thing, okay, in a
Yeah.
professional, okay. In an owner-driven company, okay, the owner is the mentor to somebody whom he or she sees as loyal to him. That's a very different type of mentorship. Remember that. Okay. Now, outside of the company, you can go and ask people, hey, I'd like to learn from you as a mentor. For example, years ago, when I was at the Unilever training course, Ram Charan taught us for a week at the general manager's course. Now, 20 years from then, he's been a very strong mentor. And I always reach out to him and say, hey, what do you think? And he was the person who actually told me, sitting in the Emirates lounge in Dubai, when I was in Dubai running emerging markets for Nokia, he said, look, Shiv, I think Nokia's time is up. You need to move on. You're wasting your time. He was the first guy
Really.
to tell me that. And I was shocked. Okay. And he said, look, Shiv, I know a lot about
And
Apple.
this was when Nokia had what kind of market share, let's say?
Globally, we had 35 market share at that point of time. Okay. And he told me, look, you need to leave. Trust me, there is no future in Nokia. Now, somebody like that could give you the harsh truth. Okay. Nobody else did. Okay. So outside the system, you can seek mentorship. Okay. But inside the system, they have to pick you to mentor you.
Very nice. Have you made any career moves? This is a pretty odd question, but have you made career moves when you look back, right? Which would you think now were risky and did pay off, or B did not pay off, worked out badly for you?
Yeah, I would say I've been very lucky, I must be honest. And I'm really grateful to all the companies that I worked in and all the people who shaped my thinking and career. By and large, I would say 90% of the time I landed. Now, while you go through the process, yeah, maybe I wanted this job, but I got some other job. But over a period of time, it went on the right track. Okay, but the one regret I would have is that maybe I should have gone abroad in the late 90s to work outside of India to get different cultural experiences. Uh,
Okay,
but then the company said, hey, we have enough jobs for you here, you stay here. So you stay.
sure.
That I think would be a regret. Otherwise, the rest of it I would not.
And I think 90s was also an exciting part. India was
Absolutely right.
suddenly
That's what,
opening
yeah.
up. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, talking about regrets, did it ever occur to you to turn entrepreneur? And or do you think that had you been born 20 years later, you might have done that?
No. I think I'm very, very good working for somebody else. See, I come from a family of bureaucrats and doctors. Okay, I was the
Okay.
first guy to get into business management. I've seen my dad, I've seen my uncles, all bureaucrats working, slogging, etc. I'm very good working for somebody else. I think I'll be terrible as an entrepreneur. So it's a good thing that I didn't choose that.
Okay. And I think one last question,
Yes, please.
which is that would you have any parting advice to CEO aspirants?
Fantastic. Great question to end the wonderful conversation. I would say the CEO job is a very aspirational job. When I go to teach at business schools, when I ask them, how many of you want to be CEO? 90% of the hands go up.
Okay.
90%. Okay. But the raw stat is only 5 to 7% of any batch makes it to CEO. So other 90 are not making it. Okay. That's one of the reasons
Yeah.
I wrote the book also. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I remember.
so the thing which is very, very important for a CEO aspirant at any stage, junior, middle management, senior management, is remember that the CEO job is about the plurality of the job. The plurality of the job is a challenge. So if you do not have plurality thinking, duality thinking, okay, then you will be challenged. So you have a
Could
continuum.
could you elaborate on
I will do
plurality
that.
and
Let's
duality both?
let's take the plurality stroke duality continuum. Okay. What do I do now vis-a-vis what do I do tomorrow and day after? Is an eternal dilemma for every CEO in terms of decision. Second, what do I cut in terms of my cost? Where do I invest for the future? Okay. Where do I compete with my competitors? Where do I collaborate? Okay. Whom do I confide in? And where do I keep my mouth shut? Okay, in which meeting? Okay, in every meeting, where do I bring the strategic element, where do I bring the execution element? Okay. When am I accessible to people? When should I stay aloof? So there's a plurality to the job. And if you're not able to juggle that in your head, you will not succeed. And that's a very important point for all CEOs. So if you're a CEO aspirant, develop the plurality in your thinking.
Fabulous. I think this has been a truly invigorating interview. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much. Best of luck with your book. I can see that it's on the top selling lists everywhere and may continue to be there for a long time.
Thank you,
Thank you
Shiv.
very
It
much.
was wonderful doing
Thank you,
this
Shiv.
for all of you. Thank you and wish all of you the very best. Thank you and
Yeah,
I wish you
thank
the
you. All right. Bye bye. That conversation with Shiv underlined why he's such a popular speaker. He's crisp, he's wise, and he's straightforward. I hope you found his career advice useful. I'll see you again next week with another top marketer. Until then, goodbye.